Have you ever felt caught in a relentless current of external events, where your peace of mind seems constantly at the mercy of things entirely outside your control? It is a universal human experience to feel this pull, this almost magnetic force that dictates our moods, our reactions, and sometimes even our sense of self-worth. In a world that often feels chaotic and unpredictable, where news cycles churn with unsettling events and personal challenges seem to multiply, finding an anchor, a true north, can feel like an impossible quest. Yet, for thousands of years, a profound philosophy has offered a timeless antidote to this very predicament, promising not an escape from reality, but a radical transformation of our inner world, allowing us to navigate life's storms with unwavering tranquility. This isn't about ignoring problems or pretending everything is fine. It is about cultivating an internal fortress that no external force can breach. Consider the wisdom of the ancient Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius, who famously penned this powerful thought: "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this and you will find strength. This isn't just a philosophical musing, it is a direct invitation, a challenge even, to reclaim agency over the one domain that is truly ours, our mind. It speaks to a profound truth that has resonated through centuries, offering a blueprint for resilience and inner peace that is arguably more relevant today than ever before. We are constantly bombarded with messages telling us to seek happiness externally, through possessions, achievements, or the approval of others. But what if true, lasting contentment doesn't lie out there, but deep within us, waiting to be unearthed through a series of subtle, yet incredibly powerful, shifts in perspective and practice? In this exploration, we are not just touching upon abstract theories. We are delving into 25 Stoic shifts that redefine your entire inner world. This is a journey designed to unlock profound insights, offering practical, actionable wisdom that can fundamentally alter how you perceive and interact with reality. We'll uncover how ancient Stoic principles, far from being rigid or joyless, provide a liberating framework for a more stable, purposeful, and profoundly peaceful existence. Get ready to discover how shifting your focus from what you cannot control to what you can, your judgments, your reactions, and your character, can become the key to unlocking a level of inner freedom and emotional robustness you might not have thought possible. This isn't just a video, it's an invitation to embark on a transformative path, guided by the timeless wisdom of the Stoics, leading you to a deeper understanding of yourself and the world around you. Prepare to see your reality and your place within it through an entirely new lens. How much of your personal power do you unknowingly give away each day? We often find ourselves frustrated by things we simply cannot change, from the weather to other people's opinions. This brings us to the first and perhaps most foundational Stoic shift: embracing the dichotomy of control. This principle is elegantly simple yet profoundly transformative. It asks us to clearly distinguish between what is truly within our power and what is not. Think about it. We can control our actions, our judgments, our attitudes, and our responses. We cannot control external events, the behavior of others, or even, ultimately, our physical health or reputation. This understanding radically redirects our energy. Instead of fruitlessly wrestling with the uncontrollable, we learn to channel our efforts into the only domain where they can truly make a difference: our inner world. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus, a former slave who rose to become a respected teacher, put it best: "Some things are in our control and others are not." Things in our control are opinion, pursuit, desire, aversion, and, in a word, whatever are our own actions. Things not in our control are body, property, reputation, command, and, in a word, whatever are not our own actions. This isn't just an abstract philosophical statement. It is a practical guide for living. Epictetus often emphasized that inner tranquility comes not from wishing external events were different, but from aligning our will with the nature of reality and accepting what is beyond our sphere of influence. This perspective frees us from the futile struggle against fate and empowers us to focus on what truly matters. It is about recognizing that your peace of mind is not, and should not be, a hostage to the whims of the world. Let us consider a common real-world scenario. Imagine you are stuck in an unexpected traffic jam, making you late for an important appointment. Your first instinct might be frustration, anger, or even despair. You might honk your horn, mutter curses, or furiously check your watch, but none of these actions will make the traffic move faster. The traffic itself, the actions of other drivers, and the road conditions are entirely outside your control. However, your reaction to the traffic jam is entirely within your control. You can choose to listen to an audiobook, practice mindfulness, make a phone call if it is safe, or simply accept the delay with equanimity. The Stoic approach encourages you to shift your focus from the external event to your internal response. This doesn't mean you enjoy being late, but it means you refuse to let an external inconvenience rob you of your inner peace. Or perhaps you have experienced unfair treatment at work or in a personal relationship. While you cannot control the actions or intentions of others, you can control how you interpret the situation, how you choose to respond, and whether you allow it to define your emotional state. This distinction is the bedrock of Stoic practice, providing a powerful lens through which to view every challenge. Now take a moment to reflect. Can you identify one recent situation where you spent energy worrying about something that was ultimately outside your control? What if every challenge, every setback, and every painful experience wasn't something to merely endure, but something to actively embrace, even to love? This might sound counterintuitive, perhaps even masochistic, but it brings us to our second profound Stoic shift: cultivating Amor Fati, Latin for love of fate. This isn't about resigning yourself to whatever comes your way with a shrug of defeat. Instead, it is an active, even enthusiastic, agreement with everything that happens, seeing it not as an unfortunate event to be tolerated, but as a necessary thread in the rich tapestry of your life. It means accepting events exactly as they unfold, without wishing they were different, and even discovering how to use them to your advantage. This is a far cry from passive acceptance. It is a dynamic engagement with reality as it is, transforming potential obstacles into opportunities for growth and resilience. The great Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius, whose life was filled with constant challenges including wars, plagues, and personal tragedies, often wrote about this very idea in his meditations. He observed that the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. He also noted, accept the things to which fate binds you, and love the people with whom fate brings you together, but do so with all your heart. These are not the words of someone who is simply tolerating hardship, but of someone who actively seeks to find meaning and purpose within it. He understood that you cannot always choose what happens to you, but you can always choose your attitude toward it. By adopting Amor Fati, you stop fighting against reality and instead learn to dance with it, finding strength and wisdom in every twist and turn. Consider how much energy we expend regretting the past or wishing circumstances were different. Amor Fati liberates that energy, redirecting it toward constructive action in the present moment, no matter the situation. Think about a time when your career took an unexpected turn. Perhaps a project failed, or a promotion you worked for went to someone else. Your initial reaction might have been disappointment, anger, or even a sense of injustice. The conventional response is often to dwell on what went wrong or to lament the unfairness of it all. But through the lens of Amor Fati, you would ask, how can I love this moment? What is this situation teaching me? What new path is now open to me that I might not have seen before? Perhaps the failed project revealed a critical flaw in your approach, leading you to develop a more robust strategy. Maybe missing that promotion pushed you to seek out a different role where your talents were even better utilized, or perhaps it inspired you to start your own venture. Similarly, in relationships, experiencing a breakup or a conflict can be deeply painful. But instead of viewing it solely as a loss, Amor Fati invites you to embrace the pain as part of the human experience and to see it as an opportunity for introspection, for understanding yourself and others better, and ultimately, for growth that might lead to a more fulfilling connection in the future. This perspective is not about denying the difficulty, but about recognizing that even the most trying circumstances contain hidden lessons and opportunities for profound personal development. Can you recall a past misfortune, big or small, that you initially viewed as entirely negative, but which, in retrospect, led to a positive outcome or a crucial lesson? How might embracing Amor Fati change your perception of that event, even now? Building on this idea of embracing all outcomes, let's explore a powerful, yet often misunderstood Stoic practice, negative visualization. What if, for a moment, you truly imagined losing something you hold dear, perhaps your good health, a cherished possession, or even a loved one? This isn't about inviting misfortune or becoming morbid. Instead, it's a profound exercise designed to prevent complacency and deepen your appreciation for everything you currently possess. The third profound Stoic shift is practicing this negative visualization, which simply means deliberately contemplating the loss of things we value. This practice enhances both gratitude and resilience in remarkable ways. We often take our blessings for granted until they are gone. By consciously picturing a world without them, we are jolted into a profound awareness of their presence and significance. It's like holding a precious jewel up to the light, recognizing its brilliance before it slips away. This doesn't mean living in fear, but rather cultivating a present moment appreciation that transcends the fleeting nature of life. When you regularly reflect on the possibility of loss, you naturally become more grateful for the here and now, transforming ordinary moments into extraordinary experiences. The Roman philosopher Seneca, a master of Stoic thought, often wrote about the importance of valuing present blessings. He encouraged reflection on how quickly circumstances can change, not to instill anxiety, but to foster wisdom and contentment. He might have suggested, "He who is not happy with what he has would not be happy with what he wishes to have." This perspective reminds us that true happiness isn't found in accumulating more, but in fully appreciating what is already ours. It's about shifting from a mindset of constant wanting to one of profound gratitude, understanding that even the seemingly small comforts of life are immense gifts. Consider how you might apply this in your daily life. Take your health, for instance. Instead of just assuming you will wake up feeling well tomorrow, spend a few moments contemplating what it would be like to face a serious illness, to lose your mobility, or to experience chronic pain. This isn't intended to induce dread, but to ignite a deeper appreciation for the simple act of breathing freely, walking without assistance, or enjoying a meal. Similarly, imagine your home, your car, or another valued possession suddenly gone. How would that change your perspective on its utility and comfort right now? What about visualizing the temporary absence of a loved one, not in a fearful way, but to underscore the preciousness of their presence in your life right now? This practice allows you to savor their company more fully, to be more present in conversations, and to express your affection more readily. The goal is to infuse your daily interactions and experiences with a heightened sense of value and gratitude. How might appreciating your health more deeply influence your dietary choices or your commitment to exercise? How would recognizing the fragility of possessions encourage you to use them mindfully and find satisfaction in their function rather than their status? And how might a profound appreciation for your loved ones transform your daily interactions, urging you to listen more attentively, express kindness more frequently, and cherish every shared moment? This exercise fundamentally reshapes your relationship with the world, making you more resilient in the face of inevitable change and more joyful in the face of abundant blessings. This profound practice naturally leads us to a fourth essential Stoic shift, embracing the virtue of courage. When you hear the word courage, what comes to mind? Many of us instinctively picture grand heroic acts, like rushing into a burning building or bravely facing a physical threat. Yet, Stoicism offers a far richer, more nuanced understanding of courage, one that extends well beyond mere physical bravery. It's not about the absence of fear, but rather the resolute decision to act rightly, even in its presence. For a Stoic, true courage is the unwavering commitment to your values and principles, especially when it's difficult, unpopular, or even frightening. This nuanced view of courage encompasses several dimensions. There is, of course, physical courage, which involves facing bodily harm, pain, or danger with steadfastness. Think of the soldier on the battlefield or the first responder in a crisis. But then there's also moral courage, perhaps the most profound form for a Stoic. This is the courage to speak truth to power, to stand up for what is right even when everyone else is silent, or to admit your mistakes. It's the willingness to be unpopular for the sake of your integrity. Another vital aspect is intellectual courage, the bravery to challenge your own assumptions, to seek out new perspectives, to learn and grow even when it means confronting uncomfortable truths about yourself or the world. This type of courage is essential for wisdom and personal evolution. Musonius Rufus, a wise Stoic teacher, once remarked that if we are to live virtuously, we must also be willing to endure hardship and discomfort. He understood that living well often requires a deliberate stepping outside of our comfort zones, a brave embrace of what is difficult but necessary. Consider how this broader definition of courage can manifest in your daily life. It might mean finding the courage to initiate a difficult conversation with a loved one, knowing it could lead to temporary discomfort but ultimately strengthen your relationship. Or perhaps it's the courage to decline an invitation that compromises your values, even if it means missing out on a social event. On a larger scale, it could be the courage to voice an unpopular but principled opinion in a meeting, or to pursue a long-held personal goal that others deem too ambitious or impractical. This isn't about being reckless or confrontational. It's about aligning your actions with your deepest convictions, even when external pressures or internal fears try to pull you off course. Every time you choose principle over convenience, integrity over popularity, or growth over comfort, you are actively cultivating this powerful Stoic virtue. Reflect for a moment on your own life. In what area do you feel the whisper of fear holding you back? Is it the fear of failure that prevents you from starting a new project? The fear of judgment that keeps you from expressing your true self? Or perhaps the fear of discomfort that deters you from adopting healthier habits? Identifying these areas is the first step toward exercising your courage. True courage isn't reserved for grand gestures. It's built through a series of small, consistent acts of bravery in the face of everyday fears, incrementally expanding your capacity to live authentically and purposefully. Our lives are deeply intertwined, a vast network of connections that ripple outwards from our individual actions. This fundamental truth brings us to the fifth powerful Stoic shift, embracing the virtue of justice. When we talk about justice in Stoicism, it's far more than just legal fairness or a system of laws. It's about upholding fairness, kindness, and duty in every single interaction we have, recognizing our shared humanity and our responsibility to one another. For the Stoics, justice is the social virtue par excellence, the bedrock upon which a truly flourishing community is built. It's the recognition that no one exists in isolation. Our well-being is inextricably linked to the well-being of others. This concept of justice isn't about grand, sweeping declarations, but about the daily, moment-to-moment choices we make. It's embodied in the simple yet profound idea that we are all parts of a larger whole, designed to cooperate, not to compete unfairly or to exploit. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher-emperor, often reflected on this very idea. In his meditations, he frequently reminded himself of his duty to humanity, writing, "What is good for the bee is good for the swarm." He understood that genuine self-interest is ultimately tied to the collective good. Our inherent rationality, which Stoicism champions, isn't just for our own benefit. It's a tool for understanding our place in the cosmic order and for contributing positively to it. This means acting with integrity, honesty, and compassion, treating everyone with the dignity they deserve, simply because they are fellow human beings. Practically speaking, how does this Stoic justice manifest in your everyday life? It begins with acknowledging your sphere of influence and acting responsibly within it. At work, it might mean being fair and transparent in your dealings with colleagues, giving credit where it's due, and holding yourself accountable for your mistakes. In your personal relationships, it's about listening with empathy, keeping your promises, and showing kindness even when it's difficult. It's the choice to be equitable when dividing tasks, to forgive when appropriate, and to offer support without expectation of return. Consider a scenario where you have an opportunity to gain something significant at someone else's expense, even if it's within the rules. A Stoic approach to justice would compel you to consider the broader impact, to prioritize fairness and the well-being of others over your sole personal gain. It's about refusing to participate in gossip or slander, choosing instead to uplift and defend, or at the very least to remain neutral. Every decision, every word, every action, big or small, carries an ethical weight. Reflect for a moment on how your daily choices contribute to the greater good. Do you actively seek to understand different perspectives before forming judgments? Do you speak up when you witness injustice, even if it's uncomfortable? Are your intentions guided by a sense of fairness and a genuine concern for others? Cultivating this virtue of justice requires constant vigilance and an unwavering commitment to acting in accordance with reason and human solidarity. It is a continuous practice of ensuring that our personal pursuit of a good life enhances rather than detracts from the well-being of the collective. What if true freedom isn't about having the ability to do whatever you want, whenever you want, but about gaining mastery over your own inner world? This brings us to the sixth powerful Stoic shift, embracing the virtue of temperance. For the Stoics, temperance, or sophrosyne in Greek, is far more than just abstaining from excess. It's about exercising self-control and moderation in all aspects of life. It's the art of harmonizing your desires and impulses with reason, ensuring that your passions serve you rather than control you. Think of it not as deprivation, but as a deliberate and intelligent alignment of your actions with your highest values, leading to an unshakable inner calm. This concept of temperance is foundational because our desires, left unchecked, can often become tyrannical masters. How many times have we been swayed by a sudden craving, a fleeting urge, or the pull of instant gratification, only to regret it later? Temperance is the antidote. It allows us to pause, to reflect, and to choose a course of action that is truly beneficial for our long-term well-being and aligned with our rational nature. It's about developing the inner strength to say no, not out of asceticism, but out of a deep understanding of what truly contributes to a good and flourishing life. This is where the wisdom of Epictetus, another prominent Stoic philosopher, becomes incredibly relevant. He frequently emphasized the importance of self-discipline, reminding us that we cannot control external events, but we always retain control over our reactions and our desires. He would assert that true freedom comes from managing one's own internal landscape, acknowledging that desires themselves aren't inherently bad, but rather our attachment to them and our inability to moderate them can lead to significant suffering. He counseled his students to recognize the things within their power and, above all else, to guard their faculty of choice, ensuring it remains uncorrupted by unbridled passion. Practically applying temperance involves a conscious effort to bring balance into your daily habits. Consider your diet. Temperance isn't about rigid restriction, but about eating nourishing foods in appropriate amounts, mindful of how they affect your body and your energy levels. It means enjoying treats in moderation, rather than allowing impulsive cravings to dictate your choices. When it comes to spending, temperance encourages you to distinguish between genuine needs and fleeting desires. It's about making conscious financial decisions, living within your means, and avoiding impulsive purchases that might lead to future stress or debt. Even in our consumption of media and information, temperance plays a crucial role. In an age of endless scrolling and constant notifications, temperance invites us to be intentional about what we consume and how much. It means stepping away from screens when necessary, choosing content that enriches rather than merely entertains, and protecting our mental space from overload. It's the ability to pause before instinctively reaching for your phone, to choose a quiet moment of reflection over the endless stream of digital input. Every area of life offers an opportunity to practice temperance, to fine-tune your ability to govern yourself. It is not about living a joyless existence, but about finding a deeper, more sustainable joy that comes from self-mastery and inner peace. This isn't about perfection overnight, but about consistent, small choices that build into a powerful habit of self-governance. Take a moment to reflect. Is there one particular area in your life where you feel your desires or impulses tend to get the better of you? Perhaps it's late-night snacking, excessive online shopping, or constantly checking social media. What might it look like to introduce just a little more moderation, a little more conscious control into that specific area starting today? This journey of temperance is about becoming the architect of your own inner world, building a life of intention and serenity. Making better choices, especially when life throws its toughest challenges our way, is a skill we all crave. This brings us to the seventh profound Stoic shift, cultivating the virtue of wisdom, often referred to as prudence. For the Stoics, wisdom isn't just about accumulating facts or abstract knowledge. It's intensely practical. It is the master virtue, the guiding light that illuminates our path and ensures all other virtues like courage, justice, and the temperance we just discussed are applied correctly and effectively. Think of it as the compass that keeps your moral ship on course, even in turbulent waters. It's the ability to discern what is truly good, what is truly bad, and what is indifferent, allowing you to react appropriately and align your actions with reason. This concept of wisdom as practical knowledge is central to Stoic philosophy. It's not enough to simply know what is right. True wisdom lies in applying that knowledge to the messy, unpredictable realities of daily life. It's about understanding the consequences of your actions, foreseeing potential pitfalls, and choosing the most rational and beneficial path forward. Seneca, one of the great Roman Stoics, eloquently captured this when he wrote, "No man is good by chance, virtue is something learnt." This speaks directly to the active, deliberate pursuit of wisdom. It suggests that discernment and reasoned action aren't accidental attributes, but are honed through conscious effort, reflection, and experience. Wisdom demands that we consistently question our assumptions, evaluate our impulses, and consider the broader implications of our decisions before we act. It's about living intentionally rather than simply reacting to circumstances. So, how does this cardinal virtue of wisdom translate into your everyday life? Consider decision-making in complex situations. Imagine you're faced with a difficult career choice, perhaps an opportunity that offers more money but less personal fulfillment, or one that aligns with your passions but comes with financial uncertainty. Wisdom here isn't about following your gut feeling or succumbing to societal pressures. Instead, it prompts you to pause, to analyze the situation objectively, considering all angles. It asks you to reflect on your long-term goals, your values, and the potential impact of each choice on your inner peace and integrity. A wise person would carefully weigh the pros and cons, not just in terms of immediate gain, but in terms of how each option aligns with their overall philosophy of life and their deepest sense of purpose. This thought process moves beyond simple cost-benefit analysis, delving into the ethical and personal implications. Another practical application of wisdom lies in managing our emotional responses. When a frustrating event occurs, a traffic jam, a misunderstanding with a colleague, a cancelled plan, wisdom encourages us to step back before reacting impulsively. It reminds us that while we cannot control external events, we always control our interpretation and response. A wise individual understands that anger or despair often arise from irrational judgments about what has happened. They would instead seek to understand the situation for what it is, detach from unhelpful emotional narratives, and choose a reasoned course of action, whether that's patiently waiting, calmly communicating, or simply accepting what cannot be changed. This isn't about suppressing emotions, but about developing the insight to prevent them from overwhelming your capacity for rational thought. Beyond individual choices, wisdom also guides our understanding of the world and our place within it. It helps us to differentiate between what truly matters and what is trivial, encouraging us to focus our energy on what is within our control and to accept what is not. This discernment is crucial for maintaining inner tranquility amidst life's inevitable ups and downs. It prevents us from wasting emotional energy on things that are outside our sphere of influence or from becoming overly attached to external outcomes. Wisdom, therefore, isn't just about making good decisions. It's about making good judgments about what constitutes a good life. Take a moment to recall a decision you've made in the past, perhaps one you now regret or one that led to unforeseen challenges. How might more reasoned thought, guided by a deeper understanding of your values and a mindful consideration of long-term consequences, have changed the outcome? Reflecting on such moments can be a powerful lesson in cultivating this essential Stoic virtue. From the deliberate cultivation of wisdom, we naturally progress to an even grander concept, living in accordance with nature. This isn't about retreating to a forest or embracing some simplistic, primitive lifestyle. Instead, this profound eighth shift invites us to align our every action and thought with the fundamental rationality that governs both our human nature and the vast, intricate order of the entire cosmos. It's about finding profound harmony not in external circumstances, but within the very fabric of existence, recognizing our place in the grand design. To the Stoics, nature encompasses two interconnected ideas: First, it refers to our unique rational human nature. Unlike other creatures, we possess the capacity for reason, logic, and moral discernment. Living in accordance with this aspect of nature means using our intellect to make sound judgments, to distinguish between good and bad, and to act virtuously. It means cultivating our highest human potential, rather than succumbing to mere instinct or irrational impulses. Second, nature also refers to the universal order, the interconnectedness of all things, and the rational principle that pervades the entire universe, often called the Logos. When we live in accordance with this universal nature, we accept what we cannot control, understand that everything happens according to a larger, rational plan, and recognize our duty to contribute positively to the whole. This perspective allows us to embrace the flow of life with a sense of peace and purpose, rather than constantly striving against it. One of the most eloquent proponents of this idea was Marcus Aurelius, whose meditations are filled with profound insights into universal reason and our duty to align with it. He famously wrote about how everything that happens is just and rational in the grand scheme of things, urging us to accept our individual roles within this vast, interconnected system. For Aurelius, our inner peace stems from understanding that we are part of something much larger than ourselves, and that our true happiness lies in cooperating with the natural order, not resisting it. This isn't a passive acceptance, but an active engagement with life that recognizes its inherent rationality, even when individual events seem chaotic or unfair. It encourages us to see challenges not as obstacles to personal desire, but as opportunities to exercise our reason and virtue, strengthening our character through acceptance and purposeful action. In practical terms, living in accordance with nature means living virtuously and rationally in every aspect of your life. It means making choices that reflect your highest self, rather than your fleeting desires. For example, if you encounter an injustice, reacting in accordance with nature means addressing it with reason and fairness, rather than with anger or vengeance. If you face a setback, it means accepting the reality of the situation, understanding that certain events are beyond your control, and then rationally deciding how best to move forward. It means cultivating virtues like courage to face challenges, temperance to manage desires, and justice in your dealings with others, because these virtues are expressions of our rational nature and contribute to the harmony of the universe. It is about acting with integrity and purpose, understanding that our individual well-being is deeply intertwined with the well-being of the whole. This often means letting go of personal attachments to outcomes and instead focusing on the quality of our actions and intentions. Consider for a moment how you might live more authentically to your rational self and in greater harmony with the universal order. Are there areas in your life where you are fighting against circumstances you cannot change, spending emotional energy on what is truly indifferent? Or perhaps are you neglecting to use your reason, allowing impulses or external pressures to guide your decisions instead of your own considered judgment? Embracing this shift means recognizing that our greatest power lies in aligning our inner world with the rational principles that govern both ourselves and the cosmos, finding freedom and peace in acceptance and purposeful action. Every single one of us will die. This undeniable truth isn't meant to be grim or morbid. Instead, it serves as the foundation for the ninth profound Stoic shift, Memento Mori, a Latin phrase meaning, remember you must die. Far from being a morbid obsession, consciously contemplating our mortality is one of the most powerful and liberating practices you can embrace. It's about using the finite nature of life as a profound motivator, not for despair, but for living each moment more fully, purposefully, and virtuously. This shift challenges us to confront the ultimate certainty, transforming it from a source of fear into a wellspring of profound appreciation and urgent action. For the Stoics, Memento Mori was a crucial tool for cultivating wisdom and virtue. It stripped away trivial concerns, exposing what truly matters. Seneca, one of the most eloquent Roman Stoics, frequently wrote about the brevity of life and the importance of seizing each day with deliberate intention. He observed that we often live as if we have an endless supply of time, constantly postponing our true lives for some uncertain future. By reflecting on the inevitability of death, Seneca urged us to recognize that time is our most precious and non-renewable resource. This contemplation isn't about wallowing in gloom. It's about a radical reorientation of our priorities, prompting us to ask, if my time is limited, how should I truly live? How can I ensure that each day is lived in alignment with my values, rather than wasted on distractions or petty grievances? Practically speaking, embracing Memento Mori means regularly bringing the thought of your own mortality to the forefront of your mind. This can be done through simple reflection, picturing a future where you no longer exist, or considering what legacy you wish to leave behind. It clarifies what is truly essential. Suddenly, that petty argument, that endless pursuit of external validation, or that fear of taking a necessary risk seems insignificant when measured against the finite span of your existence. This perspective fosters a profound sense of urgency, not one born of anxiety, but one rooted in a desire to make every moment count. It encourages you to mend broken relationships, pursue meaningful goals, express gratitude, and live authentically, because there may not be another opportunity. When you truly internalize that life is precious and fleeting, you become less inclined to squander it on things that do not genuinely contribute to your well-being or the well-being of others. Think about how this practice impacts your daily life. If you were to genuinely believe that today might be your last day, what would you do differently? Would you still procrastinate on that important project, or would you tackle it with renewed vigor? Would you hold onto grudges, or would you seek reconciliation? Would you spend your precious hours on social media, or would you dedicate them to deep connections and meaningful work? Memento Mori isn't about living recklessly. It's about living with radical intentionality, shedding the illusion of endless tomorrows to fully inhabit the power and potential of today. It shifts your focus from accumulating possessions to cultivating experiences, virtues, and relationships that truly enrich your life and the lives of those around you. Have you ever wondered how some people seem to navigate life's inevitable storms with such remarkable resilience, almost as if they were expecting them? This brings us to our 10th profound Stoic shift, the power of Premeditatio Malorum, a Latin phrase meaning the premeditation of evils. This isn't about being pessimistic or dwelling on worst-case scenarios. Instead, it's a powerful mental exercise that involves consciously anticipating potential misfortunes to prepare yourself mentally and emotionally for them. The core idea is that by confronting possible challenges in your mind beforehand, you diminish their power and impact when they actually arise, making you more robust and less vulnerable to external events. For the Stoics, Premeditatio Malorum was an essential practice for cultivating inner tranquility and steadfastness. They understood that life is inherently unpredictable, and misfortunes are not a matter of if, but when. By mentally rehearsing these difficulties, they aimed to strip away the element of surprise and the accompanying emotional shock that often destabilizes us. Seneca, a master of this practice, encouraged his students to regularly contemplate scenarios like poverty, illness, exile, or the loss of loved ones. He wasn't suggesting we invite these misfortunes, but rather that we acknowledge their possibility, thereby reducing the fear and anxiety that often accompany uncertainty. Seneca famously wrote, "He suffers more than is necessary who suffers before it is necessary." This powerful statement underscores the Stoic belief that much of our suffering comes from our unrealistic expectations that life will always be smooth and free of difficulty. By mentally preparing, we align our expectations with reality, making us less susceptible to distress when things don't go our way. This practice is not about self-punishment. It's about building a mental fortress against the inevitable blows of fate. Practically speaking, embracing Premeditatio Malorum means taking a few moments each day to reflect on potential challenges you might face. This could be anything from a minor inconvenience, like your internet going out, to more significant life events such as losing your job, experiencing a serious illness, or navigating a difficult relationship conflict. The exercise isn't about wallowing in despair, but rather about calmly considering these possibilities and thinking through how you might respond with reason and virtue. For instance, if you fear losing your job, you might mentally prepare by considering what steps you would take, updating your resume, networking, and remembering that your self-worth isn't tied to your employment status. If you dread illness, you could mentally remind yourself of your inner strength and the impermanence of physical discomfort. This mental rehearsal allows you to detach from the initial emotional panic and instead focus on rational solutions and maintaining your inner peace regardless of external circumstances. Think about a specific fear or challenge you face, perhaps something that keeps you up at night. How might you mentally prepare for it using this Stoic technique? By regularly engaging in Premeditatio Malorum, you train your mind to be less reactive and more resilient. You learn to differentiate between what is truly within your control and what is not. While you can't control whether a misfortune occurs, you can absolutely control your response to it. This practice builds a deep well of inner strength, making you less prone to emotional volatility and more capable of acting with wisdom and composure even in the most trying times. It transforms potential setbacks into opportunities for growth, teaching you that true resilience comes not from avoiding hardship, but from being well prepared to meet it head-on. Now imagine for a moment building an impregnable fortress, not of stone and mortar, but within the very depths of your mind. This brings us to our 11th powerful Stoic shift, cultivating the inner citadel. This isn't some fanciful notion. It's a deeply practical concept referring to an internal sanctuary of reason, tranquility, and unwavering principles that no external force can penetrate. It's a mental state where you can retreat, find calm amidst chaos, and maintain your composure regardless of the storms raging outside. Think of it as your ultimate psychological defense mechanism, a place of peace and strength you carry with you, always accessible, always secure. The Stoics understood that while we cannot control the world around us, we possess absolute sovereignty over our inner world. This citadel represents that sovereignty, a conscious decision to establish an internal space where your true self, your rational faculty, remains undisturbed by insults, injustices, misfortunes, or even physical pain. It is the ultimate expression of internal freedom. For the Stoics, the inner citadel was not built overnight. It was a lifelong project, constructed brick by brick through consistent practice of their core principles. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher-emperor, spoke extensively about this concept in his Meditations, continually urging himself to retreat into yourself. The rational principle has this nature. It is content with its own just actions and the tranquility that it thus acquires. He understood that true peace wasn't found in external circumstances or the approval of others, but in the deliberate cultivation of one's character and the disciplined application of reason. This inward retreat was not an act of escapism, but a strategic withdrawal to reconnect with one's fundamental virtues, and to assess situations with clear, unbiased judgment, free from the turbulent emotions stirred by external events. It's about recognizing that while your body might be affected by the world, your mind, your true self, can remain inviolable if you train it to do so. The inner citadel is where you process events, distinguish between what is within your control and what is not, and choose your response with wisdom rather than reacting impulsively. Practically building this inner refuge involves several key practices. The first is rigorous self-awareness, knowing your values, your strengths, and your vulnerabilities. This means understanding what truly matters to you and what influences your emotions. The second is the consistent application of rational thought to all situations. When faced with a challenge, instead of succumbing to panic or anger, you consciously engage your reason to analyze the situation objectively, identify what you can control, and let go of what you cannot. For example, if someone insults you, your inner citadel allows you to recognize the insult as merely words, reflecting more on the speaker than on you. You can choose not to let it disturb your peace. If you experience a significant setback, instead of dwelling on despair, you retreat within, acknowledge the setback, and then calmly assess your next rational steps. It's about training your mind to be an observer rather than a prisoner of your emotions. This also strengthens your ability to differentiate between objective reality and your subjective interpretations, which are often the true source of distress. By regularly practicing these mental disciplines, you fortify the walls of your citadel, making it increasingly resilient to life's inevitable shocks. Consider a moment when you felt overwhelmed or stressed. How might consciously retreating into your own inner citadel, finding that place of quiet reason within you, have helped you navigate that situation differently? Now, what if I told you that embracing a little bit of suffering could actually make your life better? This might sound counterintuitive, but it leads us to our 12th profound Stoic shift: the practice of voluntary discomfort. This isn't about seeking out pain for its own sake, but rather about deliberately exposing yourself to minor discomforts, pushing subtly beyond what feels easy or habitual. Think of it as a form of mental and spiritual conditioning, building a deeper resilience within you that prepares you for life's inevitable challenges, all while deepening your appreciation for the blessings you already possess. It's a powerful move away from the pervasive modern tendency to avoid all inconvenience at all costs, a tendency that ironically leaves us fragile and ill-equipped when true hardships arrive. This practice is rooted in the Stoic understanding that much of our suffering comes not from events themselves, but from our aversion to them. By willingly stepping into situations that are slightly uncomfortable, we desensitize ourselves to their impact. We prove to ourselves that we can endure, that we are stronger than our immediate impulses suggest, and that many things we perceive as essential for our comfort are, in fact, not. The philosopher Epictetus, a former slave himself, knew a thing or two about enduring hardship. He powerfully articulated this idea, suggesting that if we wish for anything good, we must be willing to endure the corresponding hardship. He advised his students to practice for the greater fights by training in the lesser. In his view, every minor discomfort embraced voluntarily was like a small weight lifted in a gym, making us stronger for the heavier burdens life might later place upon us. This isn't about masochism, it's about preparation, about developing an inner toughness that makes you less vulnerable to the whims of fortune. So, how does one put this into practice? It doesn't require extremes, but rather small, consistent habits. Consider starting your day with a cold shower, even for just 30 seconds, instead of immediately indulging in warmth. This simple act trains your mind to accept and adapt to an initial shock, proving that discomfort is temporary and manageable. Another common practice is intermittent fasting, skipping a meal not for dietary reasons, but to experience mild hunger and recognize that your well-being isn't dependent on immediate gratification. You could also try walking instead of driving for short distances, sleeping without an extra pillow, or spending a day unplugged from technology, embracing the quiet and potential boredom. In essence, it's about intentionally choosing the harder, less convenient path occasionally, not as a punishment but as a deliberate act of self-mastery. Each instance of voluntary discomfort builds mental fortitude and helps you distinguish between true needs and mere preferences. It shifts your perspective, making you more adaptable and less prone to complaining when things don't go perfectly, and it makes you more grateful for the simple comforts you normally take for granted. What small discomfort could you choose to embrace today, not to suffer, but to grow stronger and more appreciative? If the practice of voluntary discomfort builds our inner fortitude, what then truly matters in this life? This takes us to the 13th profound Stoic shift, cultivating a deep indifference to externals. It's an idea that might initially sound cold or unfeeling, but at its heart, it's about a radical form of freedom. It's the realization that true good and true bad do not reside in the things outside of us: our wealth, our health, our reputation, or even the opinions of others, but only in the quality of our character and the choices we make. Think about it this way: a sudden rain shower on your picnic isn't inherently bad. It simply is. What makes it bad is your judgment of it, your frustrated reaction to your plans being disrupted. Similarly, winning the lottery isn't inherently good. It simply is. What makes it good is your judgment, your perception of how it will improve your life. The Stoics understood that things like wealth, health, and reputation are what they called preferable externals, things we generally prefer to have, but which are ultimately indifferent to our moral state. They can be used for good or ill, and they can be taken away from us at any moment. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus powerfully articulated this by stating, "Some things are in our control and others are not." Things in our control are judgment, impulse, desire, aversion, and, in a word, whatever are our own actions. Things not in our control are body, property, reputation, command, and, in a word, whatever are not our own actions. His point was simple yet profound. Our peace of mind and our virtue depend entirely on focusing on what is within our control, our thoughts, reactions, and choices, and letting go of our frantic attachment to everything else. This isn't about not caring, it's about caring deeply about the right things. This shift helps us detach from outcomes and find a robust inner tranquility. Consider your career. We often tie our sense of self-worth and happiness to promotions, salary increases, or public recognition. An indifference to externals doesn't mean you stop working hard or aiming for success. Instead, it means your peace isn't shattered if that promotion goes to someone else, or if your efforts aren't immediately recognized. You can still pursue excellence, but your happiness isn't dependent on the success of the outcome, which is largely outside your direct control. Your focus shifts to applying your best effort, maintaining your integrity, and contributing meaningfully. These are within your control. Similarly, with wealth, instead of constantly striving for more money as the source of happiness, this shift allows you to value your character, generosity, and inner peace above material possessions. You can enjoy wealth if it comes, but you won't suffer if it doesn't or if it diminishes. Even with our reputation, a Stoic seeks to live virtuously, knowing that external approval is fleeting and often based on superficial perceptions. They choose to act rightly for the sake of virtue itself, rather than for the applause of others. It's a liberation from the constant craving for external validation. What is one external thing in your life right now that you find yourself giving too much power to? allowing it to dictate your mood or sense of worth. This brings us to a complementary practice, one that feels like a Stoic secret weapon for cultivating that inner fortitude and indifference to externals. The 14th profound Stoic shift, embracing the power of journaling. It's not just about writing down your day, it's about active self-reflection, a powerful tool for tracking your progress, solidifying your understanding, and most importantly, applying Stoic principles directly to your life. Think of your journal as your personal laboratory for virtue, a place where you can experiment with ideas, test your reactions, and hold yourself accountable. It's where you examine your judgments, challenge your impulses, and refine your desires, all within the safe confines of your own thoughts. This isn't a task for public consumption, but a private conversation with your wisest self. The ancient Stoics, perhaps most famously Marcus Aurelius, understood the profound benefit of this daily discipline. His meditations are essentially his personal journal, filled with reminders, admonishments, and philosophical reflections. He didn't write it for us, but for himself, to better live by Stoic principles. Reading his words, you get a sense of someone actively wrestling with life's challenges, constantly striving to improve his character and maintain his inner peace amidst the immense pressures of leading an empire. His entries reveal a deep commitment to self-awareness and a relentless pursuit of wisdom. He used his journal to prepare for the day's potential difficulties, to review how he handled yesterday's events, and to reinforce his commitment to virtue, no matter the circumstance. It allowed him to scrutinize his reactions and ensure they aligned with reason, not emotion. So, how can you start your own Stoic journal? Begin by setting aside just a few minutes each day, ideally in the morning or evening. Before your day begins, you might write down what challenges you anticipate and how you plan to respond virtuously, or what opportunities you have to practice patience or kindness. At the end of the day, reflect on what transpired. Did something upset you? Write it down. Then analyze your reaction. Was it within your control? Was it a rational response or an emotional one based on an external event? Consider prompts like, what external event did I allow to disturb my peace today, and how could I have responded differently? Or, what virtue did I practice today, and how can I cultivate it further tomorrow? Another powerful exercise is to practice gratitude, noting specific things you are thankful for, even small moments. This helps shift your focus from what's lacking to what you have, reinforcing that indifference to externals by appreciating what is already good in your life, regardless of circumstances. You can also use your journal to challenge negative thoughts, reframe setbacks, or even plan how to overcome specific obstacles by applying Stoic logic. It's a space to identify your fears, examine them through the lens of reason, and realize how many of them are based on events outside your control. By taking the time to write, you gain clarity, detach from impulsive reactions, and fortify your inner world. If you were to begin a Stoic journal today, what would be the very first thought or observation you would commit to paper? Moving on from the power of journaling, our next fundamental shift, the 15th one, centers on understanding impressions. Our first thoughts, those immediate reactions to events or circumstances, often color our entire experience, shaping whether we feel joy, anger, fear, or peace. But these initial impressions are rarely the full story, and in fact, they can be misleading. A core Stoic practice involves recognizing that an impression is just raw data, a mere appearance, not necessarily the truth of a situation. It's like seeing a shadow and immediately assuming a monster lurks behind it, rather than pausing to consider it might simply be a tree swaying in the wind. The Stoics teach us to develop a healthy skepticism toward these first reactions, acknowledging their presence without immediately assenting to their perceived reality. The wisdom of this approach is captured beautifully by Epictetus, who famously said, "It is not events that disturb people, but their judgments concerning them." He urged us not to be swept away by our immediate feelings or assumptions. Think about it. An unexpected bill arrives in the mail, and your first impression might be panic or anger. Someone cuts you off in traffic, and your immediate reaction could be rage. These are just impressions, the initial flicker of a thought or emotion. The Stoic path encourages us to create a space between that initial impression and our response. This crucial pause allows us to examine the impression, to question its validity, and to decide whether it aligns with reason and our values. Without this essential step, we risk reacting impulsively, driven by emotions rather than by deliberate thought. So, how do we put this into practice? It involves a simple yet profound process you can remember as halt, assess, decide. When an impression strikes you, whether it's a feeling of irritation, a pang of anxiety, or a flash of longing, the first step is to halt. Don't immediately react, don't rush to judgment, just pause, take a breath. This gives you precious seconds to move to the second step, assess. During this assessment, you ask yourself critical questions. Is this impression based on fact, or is it an interpretation fueled by my emotions? Is this truly a bad thing, or am I just perceiving it that way? Is this within my control, or is it an external event I must accept? For example, if someone criticizes you, your initial impression might be defensiveness or hurt. Halting allows you to assess, is there any truth to their criticism? Is it just their opinion? Does my worth truly depend on their words? Only after this assessment do you decide. You decide how you will respond, not react. This decision is based on reason and values, not on the raw, often unhelpful, initial impression. You might decide to accept the criticism if it's valid, or simply let it pass if it's not. Consider how a momentary pause could change your typical reaction in various emotional situations. When you receive an email that seems accusatory, instead of firing off an angry reply, what if you paused for 5 minutes? What if, before reacting to a frustrating interaction with a loved one, you took 10 seconds to assess whether your anger was truly justified, or if it was based on a misunderstanding of their intentions? This practice of pausing before assenting to impressions is a powerful tool for emotional regulation and building inner peace. It allows you to become the discerning filter for your thoughts, rather than a passive recipient of every impulse. By actively engaging with your impressions, you reclaim control over your inner world and prevent external events from dictating your emotional state. It's about recognizing that you always have a choice in how you interpret and respond to what happens around you. Now, extending our focus beyond the personal, we come to the 16th Stoic shift, embracing the universal community. Imagine for a moment a world without borders, without division, where every individual is seen not as an outsider, but as an integral part of one vast, interconnected human family. This is the essence of the Stoic concept of cosmopolis, meaning citizen of the world. It's a profound idea that asks us to expand our circle of concern far beyond our immediate family, friends, or even nationality, to encompass all of humanity. The Stoics believed that just as we are born into a particular family or city, we are also, by our very nature, citizens of a larger, universal community governed by reason. This recognition carries with it a powerful sense of duty. Our obligations, according to Stoicism, are not limited to those we know or those who look like us. Instead, we have a responsibility to contribute to the well-being of all people, to act with justice and kindness toward everyone, simply because they share in the same rational nature that defines us. It's a call to move beyond tribalism and narrow self-interest, to see ourselves as tiny but essential threads in the immense tapestry of existence. This doesn't mean neglecting our local responsibilities, but rather understanding them within a broader context, ensuring our actions align with the greater good. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most revered Stoic emperors, powerfully articulated this idea, reminding us that what is good for the bee is good for the swarm. He encouraged us to view ourselves as parts of a larger whole, asserting that our role as rational beings is to act in harmony with this universal reason, which he saw as the governing principle of the cosmos. Our actions, therefore, should always consider their impact on the collective, recognizing that our individual flourishing is inextricably linked to the flourishing of society as a whole. He often wrote about our dual citizenship, citizens of our particular state and citizens of the world, emphasizing that the latter always takes precedence in matters of morality and justice. This perspective naturally fosters a sense of compassion and a desire to alleviate suffering wherever it is found, seeing the struggles of others as, in a sense, our own. Putting this into practice fundamentally reshapes how we interact with the world. It cultivates deep empathy, moving us to understand different perspectives and challenges, even those far removed from our personal experience. If we truly see ourselves as part of a universal community, then the suffering of someone across the globe becomes a matter of concern, not indifference. This mindset encourages altruism, inspiring us to contribute to causes that benefit humanity at large, whether through charity, advocating for justice, or simply acting with kindness toward strangers. For example, understanding the concept of cosmopolies might lead you to support humanitarian aid efforts, volunteer in your local community to help those less fortunate, or engage in respectful dialogue with people whose opinions differ from your own, seeking common ground rather than perpetuating division. It transforms our understanding of us versus them into simply us. Think about how embracing this universal perspective could transform your daily interactions. How might recognizing your shared humanity with every person you encounter, regardless of background or belief, change your approach to conflict, to debate, or simply to passing someone on the street? How can you better serve this universal community, starting with the small actions in your own life that ripple outward to create a more compassionate and interconnected world? If embracing the universal community expands our reach outward, then the 17th Stoic shift, mastering desire, turns our focus inward, asking a profound question: what truly drives us? So often, we find ourselves chasing after external things, more money, higher status, perfect relationships, or even just the latest gadget. We believe these will bring us happiness, but the Stoics would argue that this relentless pursuit of things outside our control is often the very source of our suffering. When our happiness depends on factors that can be taken away, our inner peace becomes precarious, constantly vulnerable to the whims of fortune. Consider the nature of desire itself. When we strongly desire something external, we place ourselves in a state of unease until we acquire it. And even if we do acquire it, the satisfaction is often fleeting, quickly replaced by a new desire, a new craving. This endless cycle, the Stoics observed, leads to perpetual dissatisfaction. Instead, they proposed a radical redirection of our desires. What if we cultivated an aversion only to moral badness, to the things truly within our control that prevent us from living a virtuous life? This means developing a strong aversion to unfairness, injustice, dishonesty, or unkindness actions that corrupt our character, rather than to poverty, illness, or criticism, which are external and thus indifferent to our true well-being. By shifting our aversion away from external circumstances and toward our own moral failings, we align our desires with what is actually within our power to change. Epictetus, one of the most influential Stoic teachers, provided invaluable guidance on this. He famously said, "If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid with regard to external things." He wasn't suggesting apathy, but rather a profound wisdom in recognizing where our true power lies. He taught that we have control over our judgments, our opinions, our impulses, and our desires, but not over externals like our bodies, property, reputation, or positions of power. Therefore, our desires and aversions should be directed solely toward what is within our control. If we desire wealth, we become a slave to fortune. But if we desire only to act virtuously, we are always free because virtue is always within our reach. Putting this into practice means consciously choosing what we attach our happiness to. For instance, instead of desiring a specific outcome like getting a promotion, we can redirect our desire towards performing our work with excellence, integrity, and diligence, regardless of the outcome. If we desire a loving relationship, we focus on becoming a loving, honest, and supportive partner, rather than trying to control the other person's feelings or actions. This redirection doesn't mean we stop pursuing goals or engaging with the world. On the contrary, it frees us to act with greater purpose and resilience. We pursue worthy goals, but our inner peace isn't dependent on their success. We engage fully with life, but without the anxious attachment that makes us suffer when things don't go our way. This shift in perspective allows us to embrace the present moment, finding contentment in what is, rather than constantly striving for what isn't. What specific desires cause you the most distress or anxiety? How might reframing those desires, redirecting them from external outcomes to your own virtuous actions, redefine your inner world? Finding peace in the current moment is perhaps one of the most powerful shifts we can make, leading us to the 18th Stoic shift, the art of living in the present. In a world constantly pulling us into anxious thoughts about tomorrow or regretful thoughts about yesterday, the Stoics teach us a vital discipline to anchor our attention firmly in the here and now. This isn't about ignoring planning or learning from mistakes. It's about not letting our mental energy be perpetually consumed by what isn't happening right now. For the Stoics, true presence means a rational and engaged awareness of the reality unfolding before us, recognizing that the only time we ever truly live is this very instant. They understood that the past is gone and the future is not yet here, making the present the sole domain of our actions, decisions, and experience. This concept of living in the present is beautifully captured by Seneca, who urged us to seize the day and not defer life. He observed that too many people spend their days preparing to live, constantly pushing off their happiness and contentment until some future, ideal condition is met. Every day as it comes, Seneca wrote, should be welcomed as the best and indeed the only day. He wasn't suggesting reckless abandon, but rather a profound appreciation for the ephemeral nature of time. When we delay our joy, our gratitude, or our purposeful action, we essentially let life slip through our fingers. The Stoic emphasis on the present moment reminds us that our power to act, to choose, and to find contentment exists only in the now. We cannot change what has already happened, nor can we control what will happen, but we can absolutely choose how we respond to what is happening right this second. Practically speaking, cultivating this present moment awareness involves adopting what we might now call mindfulness practices. It means engaging fully with whatever task is at hand, whether it's having a conversation, working on a project, or simply eating a meal. Instead of letting our minds wander to 1,000 other places, we bring our full attention to the sensory details, the interactions, and the purpose of our current activity. For instance, if you are washing dishes, instead of rushing through it while thinking about your next chore, truly feel the warm water, notice the scent of the soap, and appreciate the act of cleaning. This isn't just about making mundane tasks more bearable. It's about training our minds to resist the pull of distraction and to fully inhabit our lives. This active engagement also extends to our responses to challenges. When faced with a difficult situation, living in the present means confronting it head-on, focusing on the immediate steps we can take, rather than falling into rumination about how it happened or anxiety about its long-term consequences. It allows us to apply our reason and virtue directly to the current circumstances, making the wisest possible choice in that exact moment. This isn't a passive acceptance but an active embrace of reality as it is, which paradoxically empowers us to respond more effectively and with greater inner calm. How much of your day do you truly spend fully present, rather than lost in thoughts of yesterday or tomorrow? Building on that foundation of present moment awareness, one of the most profound shifts we can embrace is the 19th Stoic insight, the discipline of seeking wise counsel. Imagine having access to a guide, someone whose experience and character serve as a beacon, illuminating paths you might not see and helping you navigate obstacles with greater clarity. The Stoics understood that while self-reliance is crucial, true wisdom often blossoms in the fertile ground of shared experience. They didn't advocate for isolating oneself in pursuit of enlightenment. Rather, they emphasized the immense value of learning from those who have already embodied the virtues we aspire to cultivate. This isn't about blind obedience but about prudent humility, recognizing that others have walked these roads before and can offer invaluable perspectives. The importance of learning from others, particularly those who demonstrate a life well lived, was a recurring theme in Stoic philosophy. It's about more than just getting practical advice. It's about observing how wisdom manifests in daily actions, how resilience is built, and how tranquility is maintained amidst life's storms. Think of it as an apprenticeship in living, where you observe not just what someone says, but how they live, how they respond to adversity, and how they treat others. These living examples become far more impactful than any theoretical lesson because they show you what is possible and how noble principles can be put into practice. It's about soaking up their insights, understanding their decision-making processes, and internalizing their virtuous habits until they become second nature to you. Seneca, in particular, offered powerful guidance on this very topic, urging us to be incredibly selective about the company we keep. He famously advised, "Associate with those who will improve you." He wasn't suggesting that we only surround ourselves with perfect sages, but rather that we seek out individuals whose character, judgment, and overall demeanor elevate our own. He believed that virtues, like vices, are contagious. If you spend time with people who are consistently complaining, gossiping, or making poor choices, you risk unconsciously adopting those patterns. Conversely, if you align yourself with individuals who are calm, rational, virtuous, and dedicated to growth, their influence will naturally pull you upwards. Seneca even suggested that if you cannot find such a person in real life, you should turn to the great minds of the past through their writings, making their wisdom your constant companion. For him, the pages of a book could house a mentor whose counsel transcended time. Practically speaking, how do we identify and learn from these wise individuals in our own lives today? It begins with observation and intentionality. Look for people who exhibit the qualities you admire, perhaps their composure in a crisis, their generous spirit, their consistent dedication to their craft, or their ability to maintain a calm perspective when others are losing theirs. These aren't necessarily people in positions of power or fame. They could be a colleague at work, an elder in your community, or even a friend who consistently handles challenges with grace. Once you identify someone whose wisdom resonates with you, create opportunities to listen to them. This might mean engaging them in thoughtful conversations, observing how they navigate difficult situations, or simply taking note of their approach to life. It's about being an active learner, asking questions, and reflecting on their insights rather than just passively receiving information. You are seeking not just answers, but a deeper understanding of how their internal world operates. Who are the people in your life, or even from history, whom you instinctively look to for guidance, and what specific virtues or qualities do they embody that draw you to their counsel? Embracing difficulties rather than shying away from them is the 20th Stoic shift, transforming our inner world by viewing challenges as profound opportunities for growth. This is the understanding that adversity isn't something to be feared or avoided at all costs, but rather a vital training ground for our inner strength, a forge in which our virtues are tested and refined. It's a radical reframe. Instead of asking, "Why me?" when troubles arise, the Stoic asks, "What is this teaching me?" or "How can this make me stronger?" This perspective doesn't deny the pain or discomfort of hardship, but it redirects our focus from lamenting the problem to leveraging it for personal development. Think of it like a muscle. It only grows stronger when subjected to resistance. Similarly, our character, resilience, and wisdom are developed when we face and overcome the struggles life inevitably throws our way. The Stoics consistently emphasize that life's trials are not arbitrary punishments but essential components of a well-lived life. Epictetus, for instance, spoke of difficulties as occasions that reveal our character and allow us to practice virtue. He believed that if you want to be a better person, you need opportunities to be tested, just as a wrestler needs opponents to hone their skills. Seneca, too, often wrote about the value of adversity, stating that fire is the test of gold, adversity of strong men. He argued that true strength isn't proven when things are easy, but when they are hard. It's during these challenging times that we discover hidden reserves of courage, patience, and self-control we never knew we possessed. This isn't about masochism or seeking out pain, but about recognizing that when pain or difficulty finds us, we have a choice: to be broken by it or to be shaped and strengthened by it. The Stoics would say that avoiding all discomfort would be like trying to sculpt a statue without ever striking the marble, leaving it formless and untested. Consider how this reframing can apply to everyday setbacks. A lost job isn't just a financial blow. It can be an opportunity to reassess your career path, develop new skills, or discover a passion you never had time for. A failed project isn't a sign of incompetence. It's a chance to analyze what went wrong, learn from your mistakes, and approach the next endeavor with newfound wisdom. Even personal conflicts, though often painful, can teach us about communication, boundaries, and empathy. The key is to actively seek the lesson within the difficulty. This involves stepping back, perhaps journaling about the experience, and asking analytical questions like, what did I learn about myself? What did I learn about others? How can I apply this lesson in the future? This isn't about ignoring the emotional impact, but about conscious reflection and growth. Instead of letting setbacks define you as a victim, you choose to let them refine you as a learner and a survivor. This Stoic approach transforms our relationship with suffering, turning potential despair into a pathway for deeper understanding and resilience. In what ways has a past difficulty, something that initially felt like a major roadblock, ultimately made you more resilient or revealed a strength you didn't know you possessed? A profound sense of inner peace, a calm that remains unshaken amidst life's inevitable storms, is the 21st Stoic shift, cultivating equanimity. This isn't about suppressing emotions or becoming indifferent. It is about developing a steady state of mind, a deep composure that allows you to face both triumph and disaster with an unperturbed spirit. Equanimity means you are not overly elated by success nor overly crushed by failure. It is the ability to maintain a balanced perspective, recognizing that external events, whether seemingly good or bad, are ultimately outside your control, while your response to them is entirely within your power. Imagine a deep lake that, despite strong winds whipping its surface into waves, remains still and calm at its depths. That stillness is equanimity. The Stoics considered equanimity a cornerstone of a virtuous life, integral to wisdom and emotional freedom. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, frequently urged himself and his readers to remain undisturbed by the external world. He wrote, "Does anything genuinely disturb you? Just observe it. The disturbance is merely a matter of your own judgment, and you can let it go." This wisdom underscores a vital Stoic principle. It is not events themselves that disturb us, but our interpretations of them. By learning to observe our thoughts and reactions without immediately judging or reacting to them, we begin to create a space for equanimity to flourish. Seneca reinforced this, suggesting that a wise person prepares their mind for all eventualities, understanding that both fortune and misfortune are fleeting. He believed that expecting life to be smooth is a setup for disappointment, while embracing its unpredictable nature leads to greater resilience. Cultivating this deep inner calm involves deliberate practice, much like strengthening a muscle. One powerful technique is the practice of mindful awareness, paying attention to your thoughts and feelings as they arise without getting swept away by them. When you feel anger, anxiety, or excitement bubbling up, instead of immediately acting on it, pause. Notice the physical sensations, acknowledge the emotion, and then choose your response. This brief pause is where equanimity is built. Another practical application is the premeditation of adversities, often called negative visualization. By calmly considering potential setbacks or challenges before they occur, you can mentally prepare and diminish their sudden impact, reducing the shock that often leads to emotional imbalance. This doesn't mean dwelling on negativity, but rather equipping your mind with a sense of readiness and acceptance, understanding that while you cannot control what happens to you, you can control your internal state. Consider also the practice of gratitude. By regularly reflecting on the blessings in your life, even amidst difficulties, you shift your focus from what is lacking or what is going wrong to what is good and abundant. This perspective helps anchor your mind in a state of contentment, fostering a baseline of inner peace that makes it harder for external circumstances to dislodge your calm. Ultimately, true equanimity is a state of deep personal freedom, where your happiness and well-being are not contingent upon external validation or fleeting circumstances. It means finding your center and staying there, no matter what swirls around you. How might you begin to cultivate more inner calm in your daily life, making space for equanimity to grow? What quiet blessings are you overlooking right now, the ones that weave through your ordinary days unnoticed? This brings us to the 22nd Stoic shift, the profound practice of gratitude. It is an active, conscious acknowledgement and appreciation for the good in your life, not just the monumental victories, but the subtle, persistent gifts often taken for granted. This isn't about forced positivity or ignoring genuine struggles. It's about deliberately shifting your focus, training your mind to see the abundance, even when challenges loom large. Think of it as tuning a radio to a clearer frequency, allowing the static of worries and complaints to fade and the harmonious signals of appreciation to come through. When you practice gratitude, you are essentially reprogramming your inner narrative, moving away from a scarcity mindset and embracing the richness that already exists. This shift in perspective profoundly impacts your well-being, enhancing your mood, reducing stress, and even improving physical health, simply by changing where your attention resides. The Stoics understood this powerful connection between appreciation and inner tranquility. Seneca, a master of practical philosophy, frequently wrote about the importance of being content with what you have, rather than constantly striving for what you lack. He often suggested that true wealth lies not in possessing much, but in desiring little and appreciating what is already within your grasp. Seneca challenged his readers to consider how much unhappiness stems from the endless pursuit of more, rather than from finding joy in current circumstances. He urged us to count our blessings, to recognize that life itself is a gift, and that every moment of health, peace, and simple comfort is something worthy of profound thanks. This isn't about complacency, it is about grounding yourself in the present, finding deep satisfaction there, and preventing external desires from dictating your inner state. By appreciating what is, you construct a formidable defense against the insatiable drives that often lead to discontent. So, how can you actively integrate this powerful shift into your daily routine? One of the most effective and widely practiced methods is gratitude journaling. Take a few moments each day, perhaps in the morning or before bed, to write down 3 to 5 things you are genuinely grateful for. These don't have to be grand gestures. They can be as simple as a warm cup of coffee, a peaceful moment of silence, the comfort of your bed, or a kind word from a friend. The act of physically writing helps to solidify these thoughts and make them more tangible. Another simple application is a daily reflection practice. Instead of journaling, you can take a quiet moment to mentally list 3 things you appreciate. This can be done while walking, during your commute, or even while waiting in line. The key is consistency and sincerity. Over time, this conscious effort to seek out and acknowledge the good will rewire your brain, making gratitude a natural habit, a default setting for your mind. It truly transforms how you perceive your experiences and interact with the world around you. What 3 things are you genuinely grateful for right now, in this very moment? Imagine for a moment being the master of your responses, steering your ship of reactions with a steady hand, rather than letting the winds of emotion toss you about. This brings us to the 23rd Stoic shift, the profound commitment to action over emotion. It's about prioritizing reasoned, deliberate action over impulsive, emotionally charged reactions. While emotions are an undeniable and natural part of the human experience, they don't have to be the sole dictators of your behavior. Think of your emotions as messengers bringing you information, but not necessarily commanders issuing orders. The Stoic perspective doesn't advocate for suppressing or denying your feelings, but rather for understanding them and then thoughtfully choosing how to respond, ensuring that your actions align with your deeper values and rationality, not just fleeting impulses. This shift encourages you to observe your emotions without immediately being swept away by them, creating a crucial space between stimulus and response where wisdom can enter. The Stoics, particularly Epictetus, spoke extensively about the power of choice and the critical distinction between what is within your control and what is not. Epictetus often emphasized that while you cannot always control external events or even the initial surge of an emotion, you absolutely control your judgment about those events and your subsequent actions. He passionately argued that your inner freedom lies precisely in this capacity to choose your response, regardless of how intense your feelings might be. To him, becoming truly free meant mastering your reactions, understanding that your actions, and not your emotions, are the ultimate reflections of your character. This mastery isn't about becoming cold or indifferent. It is about cultivating an inner fortress of reason, where your decisions are guided by thoughtful consideration rather than merely the ebb and flow of your emotional state. It's a call to take responsibility for your inner landscape, recognizing that your emotional reactions are often shaped by your interpretations, which you can indeed learn to modify. So, how can you practically implement this profound shift in your daily life? One highly effective strategy is to cultivate a momentary pause before reacting, especially when you feel strong emotions surfacing. This stoic pause can take many forms, taking a deep breath, counting to 10, or simply observing the emotion without judgment. This brief interval provides the critical space needed to engage your rational mind and consider a more constructive response. For instance, if you receive an email that triggers anger, instead of firing off an immediate, heated reply, close your eyes for a moment, take a breath, and then revisit it, allowing your initial emotional intensity to subside. Another practical application involves premeditation of future difficulties, a technique where you mentally rehearse calm and rational responses to potential triggers before they even occur. By anticipating scenarios that might provoke intense emotions, you can mentally prepare your reasoned response, making it easier to execute when the actual situation arises. This proactive approach trains your mind to default to rationality rather than succumbing to emotional impulses. How can you respond more rationally the next time emotions run high for you? The river of time flows ceaselessly onward, carrying all things along its current, reminding us that nothing truly lasts forever. This brings us to the 24th Stoic shift, embracing the profound impermanence of all things. It's a foundational understanding that everything from our deepest joys to our most persistent sorrows, from sprawling empires to the smallest blades of grass, is subject to change and will eventually pass. Recognizing this isn't meant to induce a sense of despair or nihilism, quite the opposite. It cultivates a powerful sense of detachment from outcomes and an intensified appreciation for the present moment. By acknowledging that all things are fleeting, we free ourselves from clinging too tightly to what we have and from being overly distressed by what we lose. This perspective shifts our focus from the perishable to the permanent within us, our character, our virtues, and our capacity for reason. When we let go of the need for things to remain constant, we unlock a deep inner peace that isn't contingent on external circumstances. The great Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius spoke eloquently about this very idea. In his meditations, he often reflected on the brevity of human life and the transient nature of worldly possessions and even reputations. He urged himself, and by extension us, to remember that all is ephemeral fame and the famous. Marcus understood that focusing on what is temporary is a distraction from what truly matters, living virtuously and fulfilling our duties in the short time we have. He found liberation in this realization, seeing it as an invitation to live fully in the now, to act with integrity, and to not be swayed by the fear of loss or the pursuit of fleeting gains. This insight isn't about becoming indifferent to the world, but about engaging with it more deeply, appreciating its beauty and complexity precisely because it is always changing. It means loving people and experiences without possessing them, understanding that their time with us is a precious gift. How does this understanding of impermanence practically apply to your daily life? Consider your moments of joy and success. Instead of fearing their end, this shift encourages you to savor them more completely, knowing each happy moment is a unique and precious gift that will not be exactly replicated. It allows you to appreciate the present fully without the shadow of future loss. Conversely, when you face sorrow, failure, or hardship, remembering impermanence offers a powerful solace. No pain, no challenge, no setback lasts forever. Just as the darkest night gives way to dawn, so too will your difficulties eventually recede. This perspective helps you navigate the turbulent emotional landscape of life with greater resilience, reminding you that just as good times pass, so too do the bad. It fosters a certain equanimity, allowing you to ride the waves of life without being capsized by them. For example, a temporary professional setback, while frustrating, loses some of its sting when viewed through the lens of impermanence. It is a moment in time, not a permanent state. This profound awareness reshapes your relationship with both pleasure and pain, transforming them into teachers rather than masters. How might truly understanding that everything is transient help alleviate some of your current worries? Have you ever found yourself craving a moment of quiet, a space away from the constant hum of notifications, conversations, and endless information? This brings us to the 25th and final Stoic shift, recognizing and valuing the profound importance of silence and solitude. In a world that often celebrates busyness and external validation, stepping away from the noise isn't just a luxury. It's a vital practice for cultivating clarity, self-awareness, and inner peace. This isn't about isolation or loneliness. It's about intentional quiet, creating a sanctuary where you can truly hear your own thoughts without the relentless clamor of the outside world. Solitude offers an unparalleled opportunity for deep introspection, allowing you to examine your beliefs, understand your emotions, and align your actions with your core values. It's in these moments of quiet reflection that genuine self-discovery occurs, revealing insights that are often drowned out by daily distractions. The Stoics, particularly Seneca, understood the immense benefits of withdrawing to reflect. While they didn't advocate for hermetic living, they consistently emphasized the need for periods of solitary contemplation. Seneca, in his letters, often wrote about the importance of self-examination that happens during quiet moments. He saw solitude not as an absence of company, but as an opportunity for the best company, your own. It's when you are alone with your thoughts that you can truly hold yourself accountable, review your day, and plan for living more virtuously. This practice allows you to dissect your reactions, understand your impulses, and refine your character without external influences swaying your judgment. Without these moments of undisturbed reflection, our lives can become a series of reactive responses to external stimuli, leaving little room for deliberate, rational thought and moral progress. So, how can you practically incorporate more silence and solitude into your busy life? It doesn't require moving to a mountaintop. It can be as simple as dedicating 10 minutes each morning to quiet contemplation before your day begins, perhaps sitting with a cup of tea and simply observing your thoughts without judgment. Another way is to take a technology-free walk, leaving your phone behind and just noticing the world around you. Or perhaps setting aside a specific time each week for journaling, allowing your thoughts to flow freely onto the page without interruption. Even 5 minutes of intentional quiet during your lunch break can be transformative, offering a mental reset. The goal is to create pockets of stillness where you can reconnect with yourself, process your experiences, and allow your inner wisdom to surface. These small, consistent practices build a habit of introspection, strengthening your inner world against external pressures. How much time do you currently dedicate to undisturbed self-reflection each day? As we bring our journey through these 25 Stoic shifts to a close, remember that understanding these principles is just the beginning. The true transformation lies in their consistent application. We've explored the profound power of distinguishing between what's within our control and what isn't, a fundamental shift that liberates us from unnecessary worry. We've delved into the art of present moment awareness, finding peace and effectiveness in focusing on the here and now, rather than dwelling on the past or fretting about the future. We've embraced the strength found in resilience, viewing obstacles not as roadblocks but as opportunities for growth and character development. Each shift, from practicing negative visualization to cultivating universal love, is a thread woven into the fabric of a truly well-examined life. These aren't just ancient philosophies, they are timeless tools for navigating the complexities of modern existence, guiding you toward a more tranquil, purposeful, and fulfilling inner world. They provide a framework for responding to life's challenges with wisdom, integrity, and grace. Consider how these shifts invite you to become the architect of your own inner peace. It's about recognizing that happiness isn't something external to be chased, but an internal state to be cultivated through our thoughts, actions, and reactions. The Stoic path encourages us to confront our fears, understand our emotions, and consistently strive to become better versions of ourselves. It's a journey of self-mastery, where every challenge is met with reasoned judgment and every triumph is enjoyed with gratitude, free from attachment. This continuous process of refinement allows us to live in harmony with nature and reason, finding contentment not in what we possess, but in how we choose to live and respond to the world around us. It's about building an inner fortress that remains unshaken by external storms, knowing that true freedom comes from within. To leave you with a guiding thought, let us reflect on the wisdom of Epictetus, who said, "Don't seek for everything to happen as you wish it would, but rather wish that everything happens as it actually will. Then your life will flow well." This isn't a call for passivity, but an invitation to embrace reality with equanimity, to find peace in accepting what cannot be changed, and to focus our energy on what can. It's a powerful reminder that our perception of events, not the events themselves, largely determines our happiness and tranquility. This profound insight encourages us to reframe our experiences, finding lessons and opportunities even in adversity. Now, as you reflect on these 25 Stoic shifts, which one resonates most deeply with you at this moment, take a few moments to consider how just one of these principles could significantly alter your perspective or daily life if you truly committed to practicing it. Share your thoughts in the comments below. Your insights might inspire someone else on their journey. If this exploration of Stoicism has sparked something within you, we invite you to subscribe to our channel for more content designed to help you cultivate a life of wisdom and peace. And if you found value in this discussion, please consider giving this video a thumbs up to help us reach more people who are seeking to redefine their inner